What exactly is a trust? Hi, I'm Jaco Grobbelaar, the founder and managing director of Prosperity Enterprises. For property investors, trust provides a world of opportunities. They offer a strategic advantage, safeguarding assets, enabling seamless estate planning, unlocking substantial financing capabilities, and providing remarkable tax benefits. Trusts have become indispensable tools for savvy investors looking to grow their property portfolios and secure their financial future. But before we dive into what makes trusts exceptional investment structures, let's consider what a trust is and its origins. Dating back to the Crusades in the 12th and 13th centuries, personal trust law was established in England. Personal trust law in England laid the foundation for what we now know as the powerful vehicle of trust structures. According to the Trust Property Control Act of 1987, a trust is a structure into which property is transferred, then managed by the trustees on behalf of the beneficiaries by means of a trust instrument, which is called the trust deed. There are various parties to a trust. You have the founder, trustees, independent trustee, and beneficiaries. The founder is the visionary who sets up the trust and makes the initial donation. There can be more than one founder. Trustees take the critical role of managing the affairs of the trust on behalf of the beneficiaries. They act as custodians, act on behalf of the trust, and must use the assets for the beneficiaries' benefit. Trustees don't necessarily have an interest in the assets of a trust, unless if they are beneficiaries as well. As for the beneficiaries, they are the fortunate individuals for whom trusts are created, enjoying the fruits of well-planned investments. The independent trustee plays the critical role of ensuring that the trust runs compliantly and that the trust is managed as it should be managed for the benefit of the beneficiaries. Understanding the types of trust and their classification is pivotal in tailoring your investment strategy. Trusts are either classified by the formation method, inter vivos trust or a testamentary trust, or by the rights conferred to beneficiaries, a discretionary trust or a vested trust. Inter vivos trusts are crafted during the founder's lifetime, offering unique advantages for proactive property investors, whilst testamentary trusts are created in a will, taking effect when the testator passes away. Discretionary trusts grant trustees the power to judiciously allocate the trust income and capital to beneficiaries, enhancing flexibility and strategic planning. On the other hand, vesting trusts bestow beneficiaries with direct rights to income, capital gains, or assets as defined in the trust instrument, embracing more creativity in the investment structure. Having the correct structures in place is the foundation of entering the property investment space. Therefore, before you start investing in property, you need to make sure that you have a discretionary inter vivos trust in place. There are many myths about trust. Myths such as that trusts are only for the wealthy, that trusts have the worst tax rates, that trusts are expensive, that you lose control when you move your assets over to a trust, and that SARS are investigating trusts. But in fact, you need to actually put your trust structure in place before you are wealthy. Trusts don't have the worst tax rates. Because of the conduit principle, any profits or capital gains can be distributed to any of the beneficiaries. It is much more expensive not to have your trust structure in place than to have your trust structure in place. Although you do lose control when you move assets to a trust, you can still be a trustee on the trust, making sure that the assets of the trust are managed in the correct manner for the beneficiary. And although SARS have been investigating trust, when you run a trust properly, there's no reason for SARS to come after you. So why should you consider a trust? There are 4 reasons why trusts are so important. And the first one is asset protection. You want to protect your assets. As an individual, you don't want to have any assets in your name, because if something happens to you financially and creditors come after you, you can lose all the assets that you have built up in your name. Also, if you had to pass away, all of those assets would form part of your deceased estate, on which you will pay a lot of estate duties, executive fees, capital gains tax, and transfer fees. So not only do trusts protect your assets, it also enables you to do better estate planning, avoiding those costs on death. The third benefit of trust is financing power. financing capability. It gives you the capability to build a significantly bigger property portfolio than what you would be able to build if you were to build a property portfolio in your own name. And last but not least, trusts offer exceptional tax advantages. And with the right trust structure, you can pay significantly less tax than with any other structure. In his book, Robert Kiyosaki speaks about how the rich controls everything but owns nothing. This is exactly what he means by that. There are also some disadvantages to trust. The loss of legal control is a factor to consider. The cost of setting up and administering a trust should also be considered. The administrative burden of ensuring that the trusts are managed compliantly on an annual basis and on a continuous basis. The taxation if all of your beneficiaries are on very high tax brackets, and then the consequences of trusteeship. Although these disadvantages do play a role, this should not discourage you from having the correct trust structures in place. There are many different ways how you can move assets to your trusts. Ideally, you want to build up your wealth in your trusts. For example, if you are buying property, you want to finance those properties within your trust structure and have that wealth grow in your trust structure. But it could be that you are also sitting with some wealth in your personal capacity that you want to move to a trust. Now, this is where we need to look at the various different options available to us. One is a donation. You can make a donation to a trust. Two is a sale of the assets. You can sell the assets to a trust and create a loan account which can be paid back in the future or donated against in the future. One can also bequeath assets to a discretionary or testamentary trust one day when you pass away. So what does the administration of trusts entail? You have to open a bank account for your trust. You have to obtain a tax number for your trust. When decisions are made, the trustees need to decide together, and those decisions should be recorded in a resolution and signed by the trustees. It is also imperative that an annual general meeting is conducted every year by the trustees, and that the annual general meeting document is signed off, and that financial statements are prepared and an asset register is prepared for the trust. It is then important to know the trustee and observe it at all times, to know the requirements of the Trust Property Control Act, and to understand the relevant principles established through the courts. With trusts, you can make distributions, which means that if there are any profits or capital gains, those profits or capital gains can be distributed to the beneficiaries. That means that the trust will not be taxed on that profit or gain, but that the individual, the beneficiary that receives the distribution, will be taxed in his or her personal capacity. Is it possible to amend a trust? Yes, it is, but be wary of changing the beneficiaries of a trust. So when we set up a trust deed, we make very sure that we list the classes of beneficiaries, such as spouse of, children of, descendants of, as beneficiaries, so that it's not necessary for you to change your beneficiaries in the future. If you like this content and would like to receive more of it, remember to like and subscribe.